Peace, family. Welcome back to another episode, Underground Railroad Productions. This your host, Rich. I'm back with the brother RaAkhu, man. Welcome back, brother.
Peace, Lord. Peace, everybody.
Indeed, man. When I have the shows with you, it's for a particular crowd, a particular audience, man. The people that listen to your stuff, they into the astrology, man. They into the metaphysics. You know, they into the zodiac signs. So if you're not into any of that, this show may not be for you. That is a disclaimer. You can leave now because this brother RaAkhu is about to go in on some astral stuff, man. So, I'm glad to have you back on here, my brother.
I'm glad to be back, bro.
Yeah, I'm glad to know that you got a good response from the last show and the people who's reaching out to you.
Yeah.
You know, I advise y'all to continue to reach out to the brother. There's so many geniuses that have these sciences but have not had a platform to spread the word, so to say, to the people or to share their information. So I'm just honored to have this platform to put these geniuses on it, man, and let y'all do your thing, man. There's some geniuses out here, y'all, and we gotta all help each other. So I'm glad you on here, brother. Talking, and we don't go a little deep into the zodiac today, my brother. The first thing I want to say to you, my brother, is what is the origin? Because when you hear about the zodiac and the constellation, a lot of people think about Greece and Zeus, and they think about Greek mythology. What's the origin of the whole zodiac signs and the constellation, my brother?
Well, as far as we can trace it back, the oldest writings on it are the pyramid texts, first of all, on the zodiac, and using the zodiac for timing. But the science itself way predates ancient Kemet. You know, the writings of Kemet, we can only go back to like 4,000, 5,000 BC. And those are the earliest writings we find. But, to put it in its proper context and to answer that question thoroughly, we have to realize that life consists of cycles. It consists of recurring events and processes, and these life processes on the human level or concerning human beings concur with the motions of the planets in our solar system. We take, on average, right, when we're not worked up or when we're not doing something out of the norm, the average rate of breath to heartbeat is 1 to 4. Okay, that is 4 heartbeats to 1 breath. Astrologically, when we examine the anatomical correspondences to this, the sun represents the heart, and Mercury is the planet that is indicative of the breath. So Mercury takes 88 to 89 days to circumambulate the sun. And that's 4 times a year. So there goes that 1 to 4 ratio. The sun represents our heart, okay? People who are born with planets in bad affliction to the sun are the people who have heart issues. So the sun in a person's chart points to the condition of their heart. So on a human scale, we have recognized these correspondences since time immemorial. But when people associate the origin of the craft with the Greeks and the Romans, they have to understand that the history of this science has been mutilated, has been tampered with, just like every religion on this planet, just like the history of the world. They have in ancient Egypt what they call demotic text and demotic script. And when you see the signs of the zodiac, like the symbol for Aquarius, the symbol of the ram for Aries and the bull for Taurus, right? The glyph for Aquarius. These are demotic Egyptian symbols that were the names of the months in their calendar that correspond with the full moon in these signs. Let me say that again, right, with a little bit more explicit detail, right? The Egyptians, first of all, used an achronical zodiac. And they didn't use the sun's position in the sky to determine what month it was. They used the moon, the full moon, to determine the beginning of the month. And the names of the months are derived from the primary cultural activity that was going on in ancient Kemet at the time. And this is the reason why the signs of Capricorn, the signs of Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries are associated with sea creatures. You know, Capricorn has a goat's tail. I mean, it's a goat with a fish's tail. Aquarius pours forth water, 2 vases of water on the walls of Egypt. He was associated with the Nile god, Hapi, H-A-P-I. And the 2 fishes were the deacon of Andromeda, all right? What the Greeks call Andromeda was still constellations in ancient Egypt. I forget the Egyptian name for Andromeda. They were associated with the waters. And Aries, though it be a lamb, is at the beginning of Cetus, the sea monster. Now, to show you that there's no Greek origin to these, or Babylonian, or Roman, for that matter, is these 4 signs are aquatic symbols. There is no other empire in the history of the world whose flood season concurs with those 4 signs other than ancient Egypt. The flood season began in the month of the full moon in Capricorn, which puts the sun in Cancer, so it's the summertime when the flood season begins. And this is a time where they began to pull their animals back, because knowing that the flood was going to inundate, that the Nile River was going to flood, they had to remove their settlements further back away from the water so that they didn't lose their livestock. All right? And the symbol, they used a horn, and it was called the sign of the horn in ancient Egypt. And to this day, the symbol of Capricorn is associated with the horn. You see it around Christmas time, where they have that horn filled with food spilling out, and it's abundance and things of this nature. This was the beginning of the flood season. Now, when you look at Mesopotamia and you look at Babylon, they got the Tigris-Euphrates River running through there, but their flood season started in May, okay, not June. And it was over by mid-June, as opposed to in ancient Egypt, when the Nile starts to flood in June, it doesn't end for 3 or 4 months, you see, on average. So the aquatic symbol of the signs is associated with the Nile flood here, you know, and further to point to the Greek names that were given is because after the Persians conquered Egypt, the Greeks came in. After the Greeks, the Romans. So what they did was assimilate the culture and the sciences of Egypt, of Kemet, to their government, to their religion, to their language. So when we talk about Zeus and Jupiter, because these were Greek gods, people think that they had Greek origin, you know. But what's really even deeper is the terms, the words, Greek, the terms in the word Zeus and Poseidon and Achilles. These were pre-European Greek terms for gods. In other words, the original Greeks were colonists from Egypt. They were Phrygians and Palestinians, okay? So if you do your research, even if it was Greek, it doesn't make it European, because the first European Greeks didn't appear until 1100 BC. These were the Doric or the Dorian Greeks, okay? Both terms are used to describe them. So, you know, people associate modern-day Greeks with Caucasians, and because that's what they look like. But the ancient Greeks didn't look Caucasian at all. They were the sons of Ethiopia, the sons of Cush. And further, to eliminate the misconception that this science had Greek origin, when you read any Greek text, ancient Greek texts that are translated into English, referencing the science of astrology, they always said that the Chaldeans, who were Cushites, black people, if you will, all right, And the Egyptians said so-and-so. The Greeks never said, we find this to be so, or that we have established this to be so. They, in reference to astrology, always reference an Egyptian or a Chaldean. Always. So Herodotus in Book 2 of the Histories says that the Egyptians believe that when a star comes to a certain quadrant of heaven, that a certain prodigy or a certain event will manifest. And that after that star moves on, that process will ensue, and that when that star returns to that quadrant, the same thing is expected. See, that is astrology. And he didn't say we Greeks have discovered. He said the Egyptians claim. So when people talk about the origin of this science being European, it is not. Further, we have other testimony of its African origin in the ancient Hindu book called the Surya Siddhanta, Surya Siddhanta. You can Google this book. They got it online. It's translated, right? This guy named Ashura Mazda, I'm not Ashura Mazda, his name was Surya. He wanted to learn the secrets of the heavens. And he had a dream that, this is what the text relates, okay? That he had a dream that the sun god appeared to him and told him that I cannot appear to you in my glory, that I will take human form in a city called RaAkhu, that's Romaka, all right? And that this city was located on the equator, that's 0 degrees north, 14 degrees west, 14 degrees and 14 minutes west, which today is underwater, all right? But there's evidences of a grid under that water there from satellite photos. You know, you can Google this information, people want to listen, right? And it said that he would appear there. Now, that place on the map is located about 240 miles southwest of what we know today as Libya. So the Hindus claim an ancient origin of their science of astrology from an African source. You see? And they do, yeah. So when people say that Greek science of the Romans, they tampered with it, that's not true. People need to do their research, man. They need to expand their field of research, and they need not run to the very first reference that they see made to it. They need to dig deeper, because you will find that the Greeks who inherited this from the Egyptians, that they were Asiatic. They were not Eurasians. They were Asiatics.
So RaAkhu, for those listening that hear you speak on astrology and all this stuff, and a lot of people may be into religion, and there's a lot of information on the internet out there right now saying that every verse in the Bible can be explained with science and astronomy, and that the Bible is really a book of astrology. Talk to the people that may not have an understanding or are just hearing this new information for the first time, that the Bible is actually a book of astrology with these characters that's in it.
Okay. That's true. That's so true. It's literally true. I'm going to put it shortly first, because it's complex. You have to really understand the evolution of religion, but I'm going to put it shortly. There are 12 signs of the zodiac that have correspondence in the sky with the constellations. That's 12 groups of stars, okay? And there are 12 tribes of Israel, right? There are chiefly two guides of the Israelites at any given point in time. That was Moses and his brother Aaron, or Moses and Joshua, which is the two lights, the sun and the moon, okay? And the number 7 is replete throughout the book symbolically. And at the time that the Bible was written, there were only 7 planets. And in actuality, there are only 7 visible planets that you can see with the unaided eye, okay, with your naked eye. You can see the sun and moon, which we call planets because they're celestial bodies. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. These planets you can see with your naked eye. And from time immemorial, these 7 have been referenced as the gods, the 7 gods, the 7 elders, the 7 rishis, or the 7 Ortu, or the 7 Orisha. you see. And from the symbolism of what went on in the heavens and the motions of the heavens corresponding to the activities here on this planet, because everybody has to understand that energy moves in waves and is motion. It is simply motion, all right? Active motion. And ancient man saw this correspondence as the heavens causing the events going down here on Earth. The thing is, the science of astronomy and the science of astrology are complex. There's no simple approach to these. They're highly mathematical, highly technical, precision, trigonometrical, that's trigonometry, and geometry, and an understanding of these mathematical sciences are necessary to even practice it with the utmost efficiency. You got some astrologers today who supplant that with computers, but back in the day we didn't use computers. There were no electronic machines or artificial intelligences or devices to supplant the human mental faculty. So you had to be supremely intelligent and dedicated, and it took years to learn that. So they sought to simplify the laws that this science conveys. And in the process of doing so, they came up with what we know today as mythology and astrology. That's Astrololatry, all right? And modern theologians want to say it was the worship of the sun, moon, and stars, but what it was is the codification. They put it into scripture. They put it into texts. They put it into mythologies to preserve that information on a symbolic level. Because we dealt with all kinds of catastrophes, all types of weather conditions that would not allow us to preserve it on paper and keep it. I mean, in West Africa and in the tropical areas of this globe, we have monsoons. So writing shit down on paper, part of my language, writing this information down on paper didn't keep it for posterity. They put it into tales to simplify it, okay? And eventually, the knowledgeable people, and you have to understand, just as today, only a small fraction of people reach intellectual heights. There's only a few highly intellectual people for every 100 people born. And it was the same then. So the keepers of the knowledge were not accessible over time through catastrophe or removal or migration. The knowledge or the actual meaning of the knowledge was lost, and it became religion. It became religion. And therefore, you read in the Bible, you know, if the astrological mind, when you get an understanding of the mechanics of our solar system, and then you dig into the Hebrew, because the English has misconstrued the meaning. But when you dig into the Hebrew meaning, the very first verse of the Bible, this describes the creation of the heavens. In English, it says heavens, but in all actuality, it talks about the wandering stars, the Hashimim. Okay, and so more accurately, a better translation would be to say in the first place, not to say in the beginning, but in the first place, God grew. The word to grow or to cultivate is what that Hebrew word means. Barashif. Okay, Barashif. Allahumma Hashimim wa Aretz is the first verse, and literally what it says is in the first place, the gods grew the planets and the earth. Now, some people will say, "Oh man, you know, you being an astrologer, you're gonna bend that to mean that." Well, proof that I'm not bending it, all right? That literally it was talking about the planets, and the planets alone is we find that word or that term as Hashimim in the 19th Psalm in the Bible, and it says that he has put the sun in them, the Hashimim. So even, you know, the ancients knew that the sun was in the center of the solar system, in the midst of the planets, because it says that we had put the sun, the Shemesh, in them as a tabernacle. And anybody that has any basic knowledge of the Judaic religion and how they worship the tabernacle was a shrine set in the middle of the congregation that the people or the congregants surrounded. So the image there is the sun being surrounded by the Hashimim, which are the planets. So, the symbolism of the 12 disciples of Christ are the signs, the zodiac signs. Even the way they're described, all right? The sons of Israel are described with the attributes of the signs, okay? Zebulon, Manasseh, the character description they give each one of the sons of Israel concurs with the symbolism of the zodiac sign. The 12 stones of Israel are the 12 birthstones, and they're given in zodiacal order. So these few examples that I'm elaborating on here, there are several more. Like you said, every verse, every concept put forth in the book has some astronomical or astrological significance. Because the wonders of heaven manifest on earth is what the science of astrology is all about in the first place. And you can't find a single scriptural religion from the most western point of Africa to the most eastern point of Asia that doesn't reference the seven, that doesn't reference the heavenly host, that doesn't reference as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven. In Arabic, in the Quran, it says, that which is in heaven and on the earth, and even more direct references are made to it in other texts. So, I hope that answers the question. People are going to really have to do research. They're going to have to really do, they're going to have to really do their research, because a simple explanation, my simple elaboration, you can confirm it easily with other information. But to understand its context and the complexity of it, you need to really research it from the beginning, to understand.
Indeed. Examine it from the concept of as above, so below, and the idea that the last time we talked about the idea of humanity being the movie theater for the cosmos, and we're all actors down here that's playing out what's going on in the cosmos. If that's the case, then wouldn't it be that the 12 disciples did exist and they're the 12 zodiac signs at the same time? Like those, like you get what I'm saying? Like they are the 12 disciples are the 12 zodiac signs, but they also did exist because whoever exists down here is doing nothing but reflecting what's going on in the cosmos anyway. So are both sides right when we're looking at them as actual people or as cosmological events? Are we both right?
I don't subscribe to that idea, so I can't, I can't prove it. I can't prove otherwise. I can't prove the contrary. I don't accept that idea because I understand that the history of Christ is given in the Bible, particularly, the Quran particularly, is found all throughout African and Asiatic culture to exist and having pre-existed the Bible and the Quran for tens of thousands of years. The Egyptians claim that Isa, which is the title of Heru, Isa, which in Arabic is Isa, which in Hebrew is Yeshua, which in Latin is Jesus, you see, in Greek is Iusos, right? But at any rate, the history of Isa goes back to 36,000 years. And the things that they claim he does are only allegorical events that are related to the actions of the sun. For example, if you watch the sun rise over water, his reflection creates a path, from the position of the sun in the sky all the way to your person. And that visual phenomena was recorded by our forefathers as he who walks on water. Mm-hmm. So they take that out of context and they give the sun a personified existence in the form of Christ or Christos or Isa or the Koret in ancient Egypt, right? Or Krishna in India. And they say that he walked on water, every single one of those cultures, okay? They say he resurrected dead because the renewal of the sun's warmth through the seasonal period brings spring to a dead winter. And therefore, they give human quality to that narration to embed it in the minds of people, you remember that which you identify with easier than you remember any scientific explanation.
Right.
Exactly. So when they did that, they created a myth, all right, and not for deceptive purposes, but for preservation of the science purpose. You see, and so when people say, "Well, if as above, so below," and Jesus did it, well, where is he at right now? The Son is there right now, doing exactly what they say he did then. You see, so that if the 12 disciples did actually exist, then where are the 12 now that are personifying these energies? The 12 are the 12 types of people that are born on this earth every single day. I mean, even the numbers you find, right? We talked about the number 7. Let's move to the motion of a day. The motion of a day is 1,440 minutes. Now, this means of keeping time, and this unit of time, the minute, is ancient. It's ancient Egyptian, okay? So you can't take it and say, oh, that's white man time. You know, that's Europeans' time mechanism. It's ours. So when we invented it, there were 1,440 minutes in a day. That 1,440 point to, it is the root for the number 144,000. Because there are thousands of people born every minute. That alludes to the 12 chosen of Israel. The 12 disciples are the 12 different types of human beings that are born under each zodiacal influence. This is how I see it. You know, I can't accept the idea that there were 12 disciples in the geographical location we call today Palestine or Israel, because we find that same story in ancient Egypt and Kemet before Palestine or Israel was even a place. So therefore, he couldn't have been Palestinian or Israeli. We find the same story 3,600 years before, or let's say 5,600 years ago from today, but 3,600 years before its advent, before that story became prominent in Israel, we find the exact same story and we with the same name. Krishna is the Hindu version of Christ. He resurrected the dead. You see, he was born of a virgin. He taught 12 different people. So when who's to say which one he is now? Now we can get into if he actually existed. Did the Hindu version is correct, or is the Israeli version is correct? The Israeli version, or the Israelite version, is 3,000. That's 36 centuries younger than the Hindu version, and the Hindu version is thousands, tens of thousands of years younger than the African Semite version. You see, so when you start to see that this tale, this story, with the same root words that cross ethnical and linguistical boundaries as Karetz in Egypt, Christ in Greece, and Krishna in India, is still there. You understand what I'm saying? So who can you give the origin to say that it was actual? That's the question that comes out of my mind. And, you know, a good book to read on that. You know, some people say, yeah, King wrote it, but, you know, I don't care. Information that is accurate is good. I don't care whose mouth it comes out of. But you can read this book called Ancient Egypt, Light of the World by Gerald Massey. Now, Gerald Massey was a clergyman. The Pope, after the church had acquired all these Egyptian texts from Napoleon and other people that had traveled the Mideast and traveled through Egypt, they received a whole bunch of religious documents from ancient Egypt. So one of the popes went to Gerald Massey and said, look, man, I want you to look at all these and tell me what they're saying. Tell me what the ancient Egyptian religion was. So it took Gerald Massey 30 years to decipher all that shit. He put it in his book called Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, where he showed how the Christ myth is ancient, African. Yeah, African. And it precedes the Egyptians. The Egyptians, we reference them so hard because they wrote everything down. They had papyri. They had lived in a dry climate where they can preserve this on stone and in paper and in their culture. But it precedes them. You see? So when they say that the 12 disciples existed, and you give me a date, 2000 BC, and you say that these people were the sons of Judah or the sons of the Levites and the sons of Manasseh and Dawood or David and these other sons of Israel, then you have to explain why that same story existed 10,000 years before them in other places. You see?
Indeed. Excellent. So another thing that people who might have a religious upbringing is confused about, being that the internet is so popular and there's so much information out there. When they see, you mentioned Capricorn earlier, and I think one of the symbols of Capricorn is the goat, and we have this symbol known as the Baphomet. That when everybody sees it, they're like, "Oh shit, that's some satanic devil worship if I ever seen it." He got 2 fingers down with a dark moon, and then he got 2 fingers pointing up at a white colored moon, and he got the it just to a lot of people it looks, the goat head, it just looks real satanic to a lot of people. So and I guess there's a lot of astrology involved in this sign, in this picture, should I say. So what can you tell us about the Baphomet to kind of demystify it?
All right. The demonization of one culture has always occurred when taken over by the next culture.
Right.
Is the simplest explanation. But to put it in more detail, right? The serpent religion was popular throughout Asia and Africa. Serpents were symbols of wisdom. They weren't devilized. They weren't demonized, right? So when Christianity or when Judaism came about, there were a lot of these serpent religions. So the perfect devil for the new religion became the god that existed to the foreign people that they conquered. They demonized that god. So the snake god, the serpent god, who's a symbol of wisdom, became the symbol of evil, and they placed the snake in the garden. That's one. The Baphomet came from the astrologic religions. These people that understood that the laws of nature were or that they concur with the motions of the heavens and the planets, with the seasons, the motion of the earth and the planets in our solar system. Okay, Baphomet is the goat symbol. You know how they say in the Bible that the witches or sorcerers sacrificed goats while they were sacrificing lambs. Why on earth would you say that a goat is evil and that a lamb is righteous is beyond me. Both of them stink like hell. Really. Neither one of them ever bathe. So when you think about it, what is the superior one animal to another? It is the symbolism of the culture that was conquered. And Baphomet as a deity or as a divine symbol points to the feminine nature, okay, in one context, and the evolution of gender control, follows a pattern as well, 8,640-year pattern. 8,640 years ago, it was egalitarian. 8,640 years before that, it was matriarchal. 8,640 years before that, it was egalitarian. And if we had evidence, which has been destroyed by the Europeans, of 8,640 years before that, we would see that it was patriarchal then. So every 25,920 years it goes through that cycle. So as one gender comes to prominence, just like one culture demonizes the next culture, when men started coming into prominence, they started suppressing that which was feminine. So Baphomet also became a symbol of evil. Anything that contended with the church. You don't understand that when the church came to prominence in the world, not just in Europe, but in the world world had an egalitarian and honor for women. The Queen Mother in ancient Kemet, when we looked it up, Pharaoh, that was a masculine government. No, it wasn't, because the Pharaoh was legitimized by his mother. And if she felt he was unfit, she could, at her own arbitrary whim, remove this nigga from the throne and put another one of her sons or grandsons on that throne at any given time. See, so that was egalitarian. So when the Europeans came into effect, they suppressed their women. They are a patriarchal people. They came up and came into the knowledge of civilization and community and city and metropolitan life during the shift to patriarchal rule, and therefore they demonized or suppressed anything feminine. Baphomet is a symbol. You notice a lot of the Baphomet pictures, she has breasts. And we worship the goddess. You go back even further, you find idols or statues, the Wallendorf mother. We worship the goddess back then. So because the church is more patriarchal, they demonized the exaltation of women. And therefore every symbol that was associated with women being in power, with nature possessing feminine power, it was all made wicked. And therefore the Baphomet has been associated with the Satan worshippers. Anybody that doesn't follow the dictates of the church is excommunicated, is, these people? Profane. Have been declared by those Christian church fathers as profane. And because Christianity is the predominant religion of the conqueror, and because that's all we as a people were given was Christianity, a lot of people subscribe to that garbage, man. Pardon, but they subscribe to that trash. And they look at this idea that women should be subjected to a position of subordinates and not recognized as equal. But if they look at nature, you see, the nature of life itself, but you have to be you have to have a scientific perspective. You have to have a scientific mind, because those people that are religious are the same people that are undereducated. They have no cause to declare anything satanic, because they don't even know the origins of their own villain, Satan. They don't even know where they got using the word Satan from or for to declare it bad or evil. You see?
Indeed. Well, we was having a conversation on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and we were just talking about the zodiac sign, and we was talking about how every person has all 12 zodiac signs in them. And a lot of the times we think that, just using me for example, I'm a Virgo, so I have all the characteristics and traits of a Virgo. But you was explaining to me how in my social life and this aspect of my life and that aspect of my life, I'm different signs. So that I guess that's kind of something we don't understand or have a good understanding of, being that we just have a basic understanding of astrology. So kind of speak to the people about what you were telling me as far as, just using me as an example again, me being a Virgo, but in different areas of my life, whether it's business, whether it's social, whether it's with my girl, or whether it's at home, you encompass different traits from different zodiacs, my brother. Please talk on that.
All right. The average, first to understand that the astrology as it's being presented to people, right, is a highly, supremely simplified version of the science, of the craft, all right? You are told that because you were born in either the last week of August or the first 3 weeks of September, that you are a Virgo, which is true for the energy that the sun represents in your life, because the sun was in Virgo, enters Virgo during that time. And because the sun is chiefly masculine, it gives indications of masculine energy, and we live in a patriarchal society, then that role of the sun is magnified, and all concentration and attention is given to it. When these Europeans, Blavatsky, these Aleister Crowley and the Golden Dawn, the founders of the Golden Dawn, the people who are responsible for popularizing what we know today as metaphysics in Western society, when they first got knowledge of this science and started writing about it, they were biased to their own cultural inclinations, and thus they gave focus to the sun. You know, whereas in Hindu astrology, focus is given to the moon. You see? And here in the West, we would say you are Virgo. But if you had the moon in Gemini, you'd be considered to be a Gemini. In ancient Egyptian astrology, they used the moon was the most prominent force in astrological indications and in the timing of events. So they used the moon sign at this time. But because of that, because of this society focusing on masculinity and focusing on the sun and its indications, we are now told to identify with the sign that comes about from the sun's placement on our perspective here on Earth, all right? This is the reason why people say, oh, I'm a Leo, and it describes me perfectly. You know, I hear this all the time. You know, what they don't know is that you are every single sign of the zodiac. To say that you are a Virgo would be like to point at your foot and say, I am a foot, when you are way more than your foot, man. You are a composition of millions of cells. You are a composition of several different parts. So in all actuality, what people should be saying is, I have the sun in Virgo. Doesn't mean you're a Virgo, because there are 12 different types of Virgo born when the sun is in Virgo. When the sun is in Aries, there are 12 different types of Aries. It goes that number, 12 times 12 again, 144 again. You see? You have to understand the motion of the planet Earth. It makes it appear as though the sky is moving, when the sky is perfectly still. The Earth is turning. And the man, being so small on the face of this Earth, we look at the horizon and we see the portion of the sky that is coming over the horizon. So let's say it's sunrise, okay? And let's use today. We'll get back to using you for the other example, but this is to get people to understand how you are 12 different types of each sign, right? Today, the sun is in Libra at 22 degrees, right? It moves 1 degree per day, approximately, all right? So, for a whole month, every morning, Libra is rising, right? But each sign is only 30 degrees wide, right? 2 hours later, the sun is high enough above the horizon to where it's daytime. And in astrological measure, the sun would be said to be in the middle of the 12th house, or just about to enter the 11th house, and let's say 8 o'clock in the morning. If the sun rose at 6 o'clock this morning, that fluctuates too. But, I don't want to get too complex. I want it to be simply understood, right? So every 2 hours, a different sign of the zodiac is rising over the ascendant. So today at 6 o'clock in the morning, the sun was rising, and the rising sign was Libra, concurring with the same sign that the sun was in. But 2 hours later, the sun is 30 degrees high in the sky. That means that the next sign of the zodiac is now at the ascendant, or now right there at the easternmost point of the sky, right where sky meets earth, due east. 2 hours after sunrise, today you would see Scorpio rising. Then, 2 hours after that, Scorpio's in the 12th place, and the sun is 60 degrees into the sky, and the next sign after Scorpio, which would be Sagittarius, is rising. So far, if you're with me, in the course of 24 hours, each one of the signs every 2 hours rises. Now, just think about the concept of heaven and earth, that which is high and that which is low, that which is gaseous and intangible, and that which is solid and material, that's the sky and the earth, the air and the land, okay? And due east, right there, would be the meeting of sky and land, all right, of the heavenly and the earthly. Well, this is where astrologers use that point of the sky and the sign and degree that is at that point, at your time of birth, to determine what your personality sign is. See, the sun only represents your motive. It represents your drive and your personal energy. But it doesn't point to your material self. It's like the soul. The sun is the soul of our solar system, and you have within your own being an intangible part that You know, I could stab you 1,000 times with a sword or a machete and never touch it. I could cut you into 100 pieces and never touch that part, that animating force. Well, that's what the sun points to in astrology. It points to the animating force, to the heat in your body. That was nature heartbeat, not the heart itself, the life force. So that part of you is Virgo. But what about that part of the sky that is in contact with the ascendant? In your situation, you were born in the afternoon. So by the time you were born, the day you were born, the sun had removed itself from due east to 120 degrees towards the west. It would be just like within 30 degrees of due south in the sky, which means that the sign of Virgo is in the 9th place when you were born. And if you count Virgo as 9, you would have to count Libra as 10, Scorpio as 11, Sagittarius is 12, and Capricorn would be the first sign. So you are a Capricorn rising, Virgo sun. A person born 2 hours before you would be a Sagittarius rising, Virgo sun. And this is the reason why two people born on the exact same day, a set of twins, for example, are totally different in personality projection. Because the first twin might have been born when 15 degrees of Libra was rising and the sun was in Virgo. And if the next twin, it took 2 hours to come out, that twin would have a Scorpio rising and be a Virgo. Thus, the first twin would have Libra methods of behavior and modes of behavior and enthusiasm, and the second twin would have Scorpionic modes of behavior and enthusiasm. Well, as it is, if you go to any astrological site on the internet and put your birth information in and you got your correct time of birth, you put it in there, you're going to get a picture of a chart wheel. That chart wheel has 12 signs in it and 12 houses, the position for 10 planets, and other calculated points like the nodes and the midheaven and things of this nature. You're going to find that chart has many components. Well, now, hold that thought. Hold what I just said. You are composed of many things. Your mind isn't just one thing. You speak with your mind. You memorize. Like you remember. You also imagine. You also channel emotions, like anger. You channel behavior. You ideate. Okay? Your mind has several functions. These are different mental frequencies, like on your radio. You know, you tune in to 93 point whatever and get to listen to Kiss. You want to listen to hip hop, right, or R&B. And you scroll down to 103.8 to listen to rock and roll, right? The same way you use your mind. You tune into your memory. Yo, remember when we was over last Tuesday? You automatically tune into the memory function of your mind. That's a different channel than creating. Okay, freestyle for me, nigga. So you freestyle some lyrics. You're using your imagination at that point. You're not drawing from the frequency that radiates memory. So each one of the planets in our solar system, it has a different orbital periodicity. Like I told you earlier, Mercury concurs with the lungs, right? It is the first thing you need is to have a life force. That is the sun. And that life force draws heat and light. That is your consciousness, your will, your life force. That's the sun. That's what the sun points to in the chart. On days where people are seriously injured or at times that people come into chronic disease, the sun in the birth chart is geometrically challenged. You know, which is a whole other conceptualization I can't explain right now to convey this point. I want to stay on track, right? So we look at the 12 sections in your chart. You know, you have the first house, the second house, the third house, the fourth house, the fifth house, all the way around to the 12th house. These houses point to different areas of life and different modes of behavior and different relationships that you have. And each one of the houses, because the signs are constantly moving 1 degree every 4 minutes, right? Each one of those houses houses a different sign. If Capricorn is the first sign in your chart, if you were born when Capricorn was rising, then the second sign in that chart, mathematically, is going to compute to be Aquarius. So the second house describes, it doesn't cause or any of that. It just describes the nature of your material self, your materialistic behavioralisms, your materialistic preferences, your tastes, right? Your appetite, right? Your sense of survival and preserving your life form. That nature is described by the second 30-degree slice. And in your chart, particularly, the sign of Aquarius is there. So when it comes to money, when it comes to your material pursuit, you no longer can look at the sign of Capricorn. We must look at Aquarius. So when it comes to money, simply you're an Aquarius. Okay? Forget the fact that you're a Virgo. So what? The sign of Aquarius sits in your money house. Wow. And then when we look at the place, the third house, it represents the development of your mind, right? Your mentality, how you learn, and your mental interests, right? That's the next 30 degrees. That's the next house. And on that house cusp would sit the sign of Pisces. So the personality traits that belong to Pisces and all of the attributions that the sign of Pisces possesses as a symbol radiate with you when it comes to mental development. So when it comes to mental development, learning and communicating, you're not a Virgo, you're not a Capricorn, you're not an Aquarius, you are a fucking Pisces at that point. Dealing with your younger brothers, sisters, and cousins, you are a Pisces. And that place will describe the nature of your experience with younger brothers, sisters, and cousins as well. So you are not the same person. You don't project the same attitude with to your mother that you do to your teacher at school. You don't project the same attitude to your mother that you project to your father. I don't care who you are. You see what I'm saying? You're not the same individual at the cash register buying a t-shirt or buying some clothes or some oil or some equipment that you are with your aunt who cooks for you or who babysat your ass. You have a different personality projection, a different sign for every area of life that you engage in. When people say, I'm a Virgo, I'd be like, what time of day were you born? Because I want to know what type of Virgo you are. What type of Virgo sun are you? You say I was born at 6 o'clock in the morning, then you have a Virgo and a Virgo sun. But you still are composed of every other sign of the zodiac because every other one of them signs of the zodiac sits at another place in the chart. And when it comes to what that place describes, the sign that sits there is the personality projection that you possess. You, being a Capricorn rising, means that you're about business, you love organization, you dig, because this is what Capricorn is. You know, fuck Virgo. We don't care. Capricorn was rising, so this is your primary form of expression. So when we look at the part of partnership in your chart, we find mathematically 180 degrees from Capricorn is the sign of Cancer. So when it comes to relationships, you're a Cancer, which means that emotional involvement is the deal breaker. If you feel your whiz don't care, you're looking for another whiz. I dare your girl to tell you, I don't care about you, nigga. I don't care anymore. Once she says that and you believe her, the deal is broken. See? But that wouldn't be so for another individual because they might not have Cancer in that place. Also, Cancer deals with domestics. So you want your whiz to live at home with you, whether y'all done went to the pulpit or not. You want her living in your house. You want her home when she gets there. And then Cancer describes the motherly personality. So it also describes the nature of your partner, what you expect in a partnership, what you need. You need a mothering woman. You need a woman that reminds you of your moms, or that replaces what your mom didn't give you and still has to do with mothering. And if she don't have these qualities, you looking for another win somewhere. She ain't gonna do. She don't fucking qualify. You see? And so therefore, when it comes to relationships, you're a Cancer, regardless of the fact that the sun was in Virgo. You see? And then the planets will go back to those mental frequencies. Each mental frequency we possess has the same mathematical proportionate frequency to the planets. You know, your bones grow every 7 years. Your bones develop or deteriorate. You know, in approximately 7 years, every 7 years. You go through a development with regards to the calcium in the bones in your body. Well, that concurs with the cycle of Saturn. So when it comes to stability as well, the bones provide stability in the body. When it comes to stability in its intangible form, security, safety, right, regularity, Saturn is the meter, is the planet that we use to make that measure because its motion concurs with the frequency of emergence in life. And such it is with every planet. Saturn also represents concentration, your concentration powers of mind, because why? That's stabilizing mental activity. You must stabilize mental activity in order to concentrate. That's human. I don't care what color you are, what religion you are, or anything. In order to concentrate, you have to stabilize your mind, and therefore, that frequency, that mental faculty concurs with the pattern of the motions of the planet Saturn. And we can look to Saturn in your birth chart and tell how well or what conditions under which you best concentrate and what disturbs your ability to concentrate. So a lot of people say, well, look at my chart and tell me this then. Well, I would actually have to pull up your birth chart. I would actually have to verify the accuracy of the rising degree, because I'm a scientist, man. I'm not a psychic. I don't pull this shit out of my ass. I don't pull it out of the others. I'm not making this up as I go along. I follow a strict code of conduct when it comes to mental processes in order to make determinations. And for people out there that are skeptical, I love reading skeptics. You know, I have not failed in the last 20 years to make them retract their statements after talking with me for just 10 minutes, if I can look at their birth chart. You know, for this reason, I leave my phone open to the public. Anybody can call me, you know, anytime between 1 and 7 p.m. Eastern on any given day, skeptic or not, and say, this is my birth date, and this is my birth time. And understand that simply because you have a recorded time of birth, it doesn't necessarily mean it is true. You know, if you go to my page at Facebook, you look up Ra, the Cosmocrat Akhu, AKHU, then you see I posted a video this week of a baby who was born dead, and it had to be resuscitated. And they resuscitated this baby. It took them like 10 minutes to get this baby to breathe, all right? They had to take the baby all the way out of the mother and cut the umbilical cord, huh? And then, you know, practice the not mouth to mouth, but the pressing on the breastplate to I forget what they call that, but they pump in the heart to get the heart to start. They got this baby's heart started. They turned this baby upside down, smacked this baby on the butt like 15 times. Eventually, the baby started breathing. So now, when was that baby born? It all depends on how you define birth, right? If you're saying that the second he was separated from his mother, he was born, that baby wasn't even alive to be born when he was separated from his mother. He started breathing like 10 minutes after he was separated from his mother. So in astrology, we ask for the time of birth so that we can have a starting point. If you remember, there are 1,440 minutes in a day. So we ask for your time of birth because it's going to be close to that time if it's not that exact time. We really need to know when your blood was oxidized. You know, I gave birth to my own son in my house with the assistance of a doula. Really, it was my cousin RaAkhu who delivered his own children outside the hospital. So I did it in my own bedroom. My son stuck his head through the vaginal canal. He didn't breathe for 2 minutes. He was gray like Krishna, like them pictures of Krishna. And in 2 minutes into the process, he coughed and started breathing, and he opened his eyes. And his eyes have been open ever since. Right? He was born with his, you could say he was born with his eyes open. Right? And still, he was from the shoulders to the tip of his toes still in his mother. So if we use the clinical time of birth, he didn't separate totally from his mother until 9:35, 9:36. But he started breathing at 9:25, so he's 82 days old today, right? I'm looking at his chart. You know, he fell down off of a pillow. smack his face on, just tap his face on the floor. So I look in his chart to see if any indication was given to that. Saturn was at a sensitive point. Saturn is also the planet of falling, right? Because it deals with instability. And, he was supposed to fall at that time, which is crazy as that sounds, right? But when I look at that, if I use the clinical time of birth, I'd be off by about 2 or 3 days, you see? Then I would be looking for him to fall 2 days from now, not today. You understand? Yeah, and a lot of people ain't going to understand that, but those who do, that's who that's for. The time of birth needs to be verified, in other words. Once I'm able to verify your time of birth, there's nothing about you that we can't describe. There's nothing about you that we can't verbalize. As crazy as that sounds, if you don't believe me, call me, damn it. I will give you 5 minutes. And that's all I'm going to give you, too. I don't have time to be playing mental games with niggas all day. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? Don't think that is an invitation to just call me every time you get the urge to ask a bunch of questions. Because, right? But I will give any person 5 minutes one time. And you can reach me at 516-881-6992. And please don't call me after 7 p.m. Eastern. Don't call me before 1 p.m. Right? I have a life that I love engaging in without you. Right? And I'm willing to engage you for 5 minutes if you call me in that parameter.
Well, I definitely appreciate you coming back on the show again, brother. I'm going to put your number in the description bar. I advise everybody to reach out to this brother. The information you presenting is a game changer, man, in terms of us encompassing all of these zodiac signs and understanding our different traits and just learning who we really are and how to, become the best version of ourselves. So I want to thank you for coming on again, brother. This is Brother Rich, Underground Railroad. Give them that number one more time, just in case they missed it, brother.
All right, it's 516-881-6992, and that is between 1 p.m. Eastern before 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively.
Indeed. And on that note, family, this is Brother Rich, RaAkhu. We signing out, family. See you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Greetings. I am Sri Master Gano Grills for the Underground Railroad Black Magic. It's very important that you don't take the laws of reciprocity lightly. I would like for all of you to donate what you can. Donate $20. Donate $100. Make it count. Make it hurt. Because if you watched at least 5 videos and you have derived some sense of eloquence or some kind of benefit into your life, it's important that you restorate and you pay in and you support this channel. I know I do. And I want Brother Rich to continue to do the great work that he's doing. And it's important for all of us to come in and submit and help out the cause.